would you be on this wavelength, you think, if it wasn't for psychedelic substances?
Oh, well, that's a really good question. Certainly not the depth that I'm at right now. Certainly not the level of understanding that I have been able to gain. Um, it depends. Would we say cannabis is a psychedelic?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I was going to say, for me, it is. It's become one. It wasn't initially back when I was sort of like a teenager, but now it undoubtedly is. Like it's very clear
Yeah.
that it is. In fact, the more kind of like if you do have experiences with the psychs and then you do cannabis, you're like, wow, it was a psych this whole time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
dude, 100%. Yeah, man, it's such a good question. So, in a certain sense, I'd like to think so. I was into meditation, even like Buddhism back in the day, before I'd ever touched anything. And if I ever did or would, it would be very, very consciously. I have a rule. If you ever use substances, be very responsible, be very conscious, be very wise. You get punished otherwise by the universe.
Yeah.
And you just got to be really careful, really, really, really responsible. And that's the kind of way I would suggest. And also just being really careful of your own physical safety and mental health. You got to be really careful about this stuff. But if it helps you with awakening, then, do what you got to do. But man, in terms of would I be on this wavelength? Again, not at the level, man. I just had no idea it goes as deep as it does. Can I ask you the same question, brother?
Yeah, I wouldn't be on this wavelength at all, for sure. I was always inclined to have a sense of self-inquiry. But I just didn't go about it in the right way. I don't know how to explain it. I was always curious on what the hell all of this is, but it was a little too rational, if that makes sense. I was a pragmatic atheist. Then got into cannabis and some high dose mushroom sessions. And I realized, like, wait a second, I'm doing this all wrong. And it just, yeah, man, it just opened me up to a greater power or powers that go beyond the five senses, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. So no, man, I wouldn't be on this wavelength. It opened me up to the grand mystery that we're in, for sure. So I completely revere the psychedelic experience for that. It got me on this wavelength of God, essentially, and that's never something I'll be able to look past. If I didn't have them, man, I don't know. I'd still probably be thinking science is the religion, I'd still, that's what I thought. I thought if it wasn't science, if it didn't have any kind of proof per se, then it wasn't real. And I didn't realize that I was the science, if that makes sense. Like my subjective experience is the scientific experiment, if that makes sense. So it really got me on the wavelength of yoga. Yeah. Yeah, they're very powerful, that's for sure. I don't know. I have to think, this is just me thinking out loud here, but I like to think that we can't do it without psychedelics at this point. And I know that's, some people would be like, what are you talking about, Gary? That's crazy. But I don't know. I feel like we're so deep in it. Like we dug our hole so deep that there's got to be millions of others that were in my situation, that are in my situation, that aren't going to be able to dig themselves out without the big wake-up call of a psychedelic experience. Because we're just so conditioned. In the psychedelic experience, I'm speaking about mushrooms here, they just allow you to just pierce the veil very quickly, very efficiently, if used in the right manner. And I don't see any other way of going about it. In this lifetime, at least in Kali Yuga, like we kind of need mushrooms and DMT and LSD and stuff as that, because I don't foresee us getting the message per se without them. Agree? Disagree?
Oh man. A number of years ago, I would have, thought about it. I'm like, but what about, really rigorous spiritual practice? What about 40 years of meditation? What about, 40 years of yoga? And then you trip.
Yeah. It's like, this is it. Oh, okay. This is what I was looking for the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. My I could never see things like my perspective is permanently changed, permanently open, permanently blasted
Yeah.
open by these, by psilocybin experiences, for example, because what they show you is just radical states of consciousness, which you cannot even, I'd like to think I get somewhere with my meditation and yoga practice. I'm really happy that I've got to a place where I can, go inward after a good number of years of practice and get somewhere. Oh, I say get somewhere, there's nowhere to go, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Feel God, we could say, feel conscious is what it really is. But then, if you do have an experience and you're very responsible with that, it just blows everything out of the water, brother. And then like,
Yeah.
dude, what was I even doing?
Yeah.